Hey there, it's Steve from Serious Keto, and this is the Not So Serious Keto. I'm going to do that again. I was practicing this all morning long.
Yeah.
Hey there, it's Steve from Serious Keto, and this is the Not So Serious Keto interview series, episode number 3, I believe. And my guest today is Alycia from Keto Upgrade. Welcome, Alycia.
Hi. Thanks for having me.
Well, thanks for being here. A lot of my viewers are fans of yours as well. So when I mentioned that I was going to be doing some interviews, you were one of the top 3 that people said I should have on. So you should feel good about that.
That's awesome.
You've got a following. But for those who don't watch your channel or aren't familiar with your channel yet, they will be when we're done. But how would you describe what you do on Keto Upgrade?
Keto Upgrade basically started because I was a pastry chef. I went to pastry school. And when I started keto and I tried some keto recipes, like dessert recipes, I was definitely not satisfied. It was something like, these are not like the pastries I had back in school. They're not going to satisfy me. And I'm not going to stick to a diet that's why I never stuck to any other diet, was because I couldn't have delicious desserts. So I'm like, you know what? Why don't I just do it myself? So basically it was just, I want to come up with the best recipe possible and give it to people so that they can stick to this diet as well. Because I don't want them trying desserts and being like, this is horrible. I don't want to do this for, longevity. You know what I mean? Not just, sit and go off of it. So I'm hoping to get people to really try desserts that will satisfy them. And that's my goal.
So one thing I'm going to bring up first, but I don't want to talk about it quite yet because it's a topic that I think I'll want to talk about extensively. So I'd like to save it for the second half of our conversation. But I do need to congratulate you because you just opened your own commercial bakery, correct?
Yes, thank you. Yeah, I just opened last week and it's been great, but it's a lot of work.
And that's definitely something I want to talk about because I think there are a lot of misunderstandings within the keto community about the amount of time and cost and effort that goes into running any sort of a commercial operation. And you have the chance to sort of set them straight.
Yeah.
But you made a great point about sustainability on keto. What brought you to keto? You've mentioned that the desserts kept you. What brought you?
Well, it's been a battle my entire life with weight ever since I was 13. So it was always losing weight, gaining it back, losing weight, gaining it back, never finding anything sustainable. And finally, I got to a point where it happened again. I lost a bunch of weight and then I started gaining it back because I fell in love, happy, wanted to go out to eat my favorite desserts, do that kind of stuff. And I'm like, I got to find something different because this isn't working, So I just decided, I'm just going to try to eat healthier. And I started looking into some YouTubers that were eating like paleo, the coconut sugars and stuff like that, gluten-free. So I kind of started on that path and then I found keto through that. Like it kind of goes hand in hand sometimes with a lot of YouTubers. And I just got into it and I'm like, wow, I can eat bacon and steak and, eat all these good tasting foods. Yeah, eat your veggies, but just stay away from sugar and gluten. And the first month I did it, I realized stomach issues I had entire life went away. And I was like, wow, like this is crazy. Like something that I can eat good food and feel better. Like it was just like, it clicked. And I'm like, this is something I can actually sustain. It's because you're eating good food. And then once I figured out the desserts, I'm like, yep, that's pretty much what I'm going to do.
And I think, hopefully, I think that's an important discovery that you've made. The whole dessert thing, I think, is very often I personally, I'm not a big sweets eater or a big dessert eater myself, but I know that for a lot of people, that's the make or break thing. That's the place where they cave. So what you're doing is providing a service, I think, that keeps a lot of people on the wagon.
Yeah, it's the thing with every party, every get together, there's always dessert, always. And that's like the main, ooh, yeah, let's celebrate, have a cake, have cookies, have brownies, and it's so hard to say no. at any of those parties. So I always bring my own. I bring something that is delicious and everybody can eat, and hopefully maybe help some other people in the process by being like, this is still really good, but it's better for you.
So have you found that any of those things that you bring to parties are so good, and I think I know the answer to this already, but are so good that the non-keto people, they don't even realize it's keto?
Oh yeah, it's happened many a times.
And which then is your go-to for that?
My chocolate cake with ganache frosting. That was my mom's birthday cake, and she had some friends from like across the street come over, and like they had a regular cake too, but everybody was eating my chocolate keto cake. They're like, this doesn't taste like, anything different about it. I'm like, yeah, because I worked at it until it was as good as it could be.
Well, and that's one of the things that I really, really appreciate about your channel is it's obvious that you put in a lot of work on the recipes, that you've got a bar that you've set, and you'll just keep making batch after batch after batch until you get it. How often do you find that you go from idea to workable recipe that you're satisfied with on the first try? Does it ever happen?
I actually just achieved that once, like last week. I think that's probably the first time ever that has happened. And I'm really excited because it was actually something that I was like wanting to do that I haven't had a chance to because I've been so busy. And I'm like, you know what? I'm just going to give this a try. And it turned out like in the first, actually, it might have been number 2. I think I might have had to change one thing. Yeah, I don't think I've ever had the first try actually come out exactly the way I wanted it to. But it was close. It was like one little thing I had to change. So
how often do you get several iterations into a recipe and you can't get it there and you give up? You say, all right, I'll come back to this in a couple of months.
I've done it on several, unfortunately. It's so frustrating because there are ones that like I try and try and try, and I have to give up for a while. And it's probably at least 5 recipes now that I've started and had to like just stop doing. And it's a bummer because I'm like, I really wanted that. And I was like so close, but then, and of course, when you go back to it, you can't remember what you did and like what worked out and like where you were at. So you pretty much have to start from scratch, especially because like I also do no nuts, which makes it even harder. So I don't do almond flour. So there's not many recipes out there to even reference no almond flour. So like keto cream puffs with no almond flour. Like I tried when I first started like doing my research and stuff, I tried that and like I had so many and I couldn't get it right and I just gave up. And I haven't gotten back to it yet, but I think I will soon because I've learned a lot more since I first started. So hoping it'll be easier.
One of the things, I think I bring this up in almost every conversation I have with a fellow cook or chef, is the worst place to be on any sort of recipe design is 95% of the way there.
Mm-hmm.
Because that's where the danger happens. You're like, oh, I'm so close.
Back and forth. It's just like you go a little bit and then, oh, it's worse. Oh, yeah. It's horrible.
So I like to confirm that I'm not the only one.
Yeah. Been there, done that.
So, do you get much in the way of comments from viewers that, I'm going to try and be polite about this. Well, no, I'm not polite. The keto police who, say, by making desserts, this is a gateway. People should just get rid of sweets altogether if they're going to do keto the right way. And, you're providing a gateway back to sweets. Do you get any of that?
I haven't gotten many of those. Of course, I don't have that many followers. I mean, I'm only at like 16,000. So I don't think I've gotten the mass. I think it's because my recipes are very geared towards people that like to bake. So I've had people already that are following me. I don't have a lot of the randoms that are like just looking for keto YouTubers. I'm very specific in what I do. So I have like a lot of like older people that really love baking and stuff like that, that are diabetic now and need to change the way they're doing things. So I haven't had many yet, but I'm sure they're coming.
So when you made the transition, first you were a pastry chef,
Mm-hmm.
And then I believe I saw in one of your videos, you said that, work had kind of dried up for pastry chefs. So you became a sous chef
Yeah.
and we're doing a few different gigs. What led you to do the YouTube thing?
It was actually just because of the pandemic. I mean, I was already out of work because we had 2 months off at the job I had. We had like a winter break where we shut down. So I was already on break, and then it basically got extended for another like 6 months. And I'm like, well, I just started the keto thing, and the first recipe I did was ice cream, and I tried that mason jar ice cream,
Oh,
and it was horrible. I'm like, oh my God, no, like I have to figure out the perfect keto ice cream because ice cream's like my biggest weakness. I love it. So I'm like, you know what? I'm going to try a bunch of different things and like figure this out. And why not help other people not eat that mason jar ice cream and be like, if I can't have ice cream, screw this diet. Like,
yeah.
So I wanted to come up with like the best I could and like put it out there for people because I wanted people to make things that they enjoyed, not waste a bunch of ingredients on recipes that are gross.
Yeah, the mason jar ice cream, you made me laugh when you brought it up. I think everybody that makes that, they wind up with a brick
Yeah.
inside a jar, and it's not good.
Yeah, and how do you get it out? You
Yeah,
literally just have to like let it thaw.
it is. Yeah, and I find, to me, the videos and recipes that make me the most angry, and I think do the biggest disservice to keto, are the ones that people just throw together. There's not a lot of thought behind them, sort of the TikTok sort of, oh, I made the 3-ingredient whatever, the
Yep.
3-ingredient lasagna.
Exactly. It's I mean, there's a million mason jar ice cream videos. Like I saw a bunch and they're all like, oh, this is so good. And I'm like, seriously? Like, yeah, you ate it 2 hours after you had it in the freezer. Of course it's good. Leave it in for another 6 and it's like a brick. Yeah,
And it's sort of depressing, when you spend days or weeks working on a recipe, as I'm sure you do, and then you film it and you put it out, and then one of these mason jar videos gets 6 million views.
Right? Yeah. Yeah, it's kind of discouraging, but I just love what I do. So, and that's why I'm glad that I got the bakery now too, because I get to literally do it all day. And having the bakery, I'll be able to test stuff more and be able to come up with stuff. And that way I'm not taking time up with a regular job that, I'm not working on this stuff. So it's going to help a lot with like recipe developing and stuff like that. So it'll be nice.
You had mentioned your mother earlier. Is she keto, or are any of your friends or family members keto?
I actually turned my mom keto and she loved it. She's doing more like low carb. She kind of goes back and forth, but she knows if she goes off keto, it's more like she's not eating a ton of like gluten, but she's eating like potato salad or like something like that and trying to do more moderation, like, stuff like that. And I have a lot of family and friends that are gluten-free. So it kind of goes hand in hand because I make everything gluten-free. So I can share all my stuff with them and they're trying to eat a little bit better too. And it all works out.
Is there a recipe that you have that you're most proud of?
I definitely do love my ice creams, but I mean, I don't think it's that difficult of a recipe. Like, it only took me I guess it took me like 5 tries, but besides that, I mean, when I figured out my tiramisu recipe, that was one of my other favorite desserts from pastry school. Like, if we had a free day in pastry school, I made a whole thing of tiramisu, and I came up with ladyfingers, which took a good 10 tries to figure out like a nice, fluffy, soft ladyfinger that would like hold up in a tiramisu. So that was another big one that I was very proud of. That was in the very beginning.
I think where I discovered you initially was one of my dishes that I get asked for by the family every time there's any sort of a holiday or get together is beef Wellington. And I had to figure out, what am I going to do for puff pastry? And I discovered you that way. I looked up keto puff pastry.
Yeah, I'm probably the only one that actually did an actual puff pastry. Everyone else is just fathead dough.
Yeah, pretty much. And full disclosure, I didn't actually make it because I was kind of pressed for time, but it's on my list.
Yeah.
You think it would hold up in a beef Wellington?
Yeah, actually, I've had a bunch of comments, people making sausage rolls, like from like people in England that are subscribers. They've done sausage rolls, they've done beef Wellingtons, they've done like beef stew pot pies with it and stuff like that. And they've all loved it. So I think it would hold up. It's not easy though. Puff pastry in general, even in school, like non-keto puff pastry, it took all day. I mean,
Yeah.
it's, 30 minutes in the freezer, take it out, roll it, fold it, put it back in the freezer. Yeah. It's not an easy process.
Yeah. One of the other things that I say from time to time is I think that conventional baking experience is actually a handicap when you get into keto baking because you've gotten so used to how things like flour and sugar and leavening agents and things like that behave. And now you don't get to work with any of that anymore. Yeah. Do you find that that's true? And, and then you've gone all the way to, full on pastry chef. Do you feel that at that level of experience, then it becomes easier again to make keto pastries and desserts?
I think having a base knowledge is helpful in general, like reading a recipe in grams, like in my pastry book. It helps a lot in recipe testing because it's way more accurate. So yeah, I got to kind of try to remember to think outside the box sometimes because traditional things won't always work. But having a base of like actual education in recipes and stuff like that really helps to keep yourself organized, and like it keeps you from doing too many mistakes, like because you have that background knowledge already of pastries, and just the techniques and stuff like that is really helpful. But yeah, sometimes, like I even mentioned in I think my brownie video, I've done 2 brownie videos. So the first one I did a traditional what I know brownie to be. You melt the butter and the baker's chocolate in a bowl, and then you do this, but it was so dry I had to add extra ingredients and stuff like that. And then I realized, I'm like, why am I trying to make it like that? Because there's an easier way. And I made another one that's just a fudgy brownie that you just whip the butter and sugar together and make it that way. And it's a lot easier, less ingredients. But in my head, like it went to the traditional. And then I figured out it's actually easier to do it this way and it tastes just as good with less ingredients. So sometimes it's a hindrance, but I think having a base is a good thing to have in general when you're doing baking, because baking is not easy in general. So it's good to have that background.
It requires a degree of precision that I think a lot of people aren't into. Yeah. Whenever I use a recipe or do a recipe and I'm measuring things out in grams, there's a certain percentage of my audience that has a meltdown. They're like, come on, we're American,
Yeah, I know.
What is that in cups?
Yeah.
Or something.
Yeah, that's another thing that's a pain because like I literally have to do both measurements. And like sometimes it's really hard because like the thing on the back of the package doesn't match what you actually get when you measure it out. And like I'm like, just follow the grams, get yourself a kitchen scale, please, because it's gonna turn out better. I promise. Like, and it's like $15 for a kitchen scale, and it's just like I mentioned it in multiple videos, just please just get a kitchen scale because it'll come out better.
So do you get any help from family, friends, boyfriend, anyone like that as you're making your videos, or it's all you soup to nuts, setup, takedown, recipe, editing, all of that?
It's all me. Yeah. It's a lot of work, which is, I find it crazy that I didn't miss an upload until my wedding this year. Like I did a whole year, 52 weeks. I uploaded one a week, and I was working sometimes 70 hours a week as a chef during the summertime, and I still managed to get a video up, and it's crazy to me that I was able to do it. But I think it's keto because I have more energy than I ever had in my entire life. And I'm like, if I wasn't on keto, I wouldn't be able to do this. There's no way.
So what are your favorite aspects of being a YouTuber?
I just love helping people. Like the YouTube aspect of it, I mean, I don't like I just started making money like last year, I think December or something like that. So I did it a year and a half pretty much just to help people. Cause like, I mean, I was wasting all those ingredients, but I wanted to find the best there was because I wanted people to have the best they could on this journey and their lifestyle change. Because I don't think of it as a diet, and that was really the only reason that I've even gotten into the YouTube thing. Because I literally knew nothing about editing. I've never even written a recipe really, like besides like just cooking at work and kind of, sometimes I'll make like a recipe for a vinaigrette, but most of the time I'm just cooking and you're just throwing stuff together. So I literally had to learn everything from scratch. And luckily I had a lot of time to do it during the pandemic, and that's why I kind of started doing it. And I don't know, that's just really the only reason. I love getting those comments, the great comments that are like, you helped me stick to this. Like, it's the best thing that I've had, on keto. And, this is going to make it so I can like stick to this.
Yeah, those are rewarding comments.
Yeah, that's really the only thing that for YouTube, that's why I do it, is just to help people.
You brought up the just started making money. Sometimes I'll get a question, any advice on starting a YouTube channel? And I tell them, if you're going to do it because you think you're going to make money, no, not first off, not for a long time. And second off, you'll still have to be pretty lucky, or really be bringing something that no one has seen. But Dennis at Black Tie Kitchen, he said that everybody should be forced to start a YouTube channel just so they can see how much work goes into it.
Exactly. Mm-hmm. Yeah. If people knew, man, the hours of editing. The reason I haven't put up a video in a while is because I still have it in my editor because I shot for 8 hours. 8 hours of footage overloads my computer. Like, I can't do it all at once. So I have to do it in sections. And it's just been so like daunting when I have so much other things to do to try and get that one video like done so that I can start going on the next videos that are going to be easier, But I mean, hours and hours of editing, and it's just crazy. No one knows. No one knows behind the scenes.
So I'm trying to remember if it was in an interview or in his podcast, but Elton Brown talked about why he had quit doing Good Eats initially. Mm-hmm. And he said it just, the pressure he put on himself to continuously put out better and better content, just it became too much. Mm-hmm. And he couldn't keep doing it. Do you find yourself, as you're making recipes or, how you film, how you edit, etc., that you're always trying to push yourself further?
I mean, I am, but I don't think in my like genre of things it really matters too much, the editing. I have had offers from like a friend that I work with that says, oh, you can put your links up at the bottom and put this here and put that there and you'll get, more clicks and more this and more that. And I'm like, yeah, but I don't know. Like, I feel like I'm giving them everything I can. Like, here's the recipe. I write it all down in a blog. Like, watch the video. I tell you step by step. Like, I don't know how much more I can give of myself in that area unless I just hire someone to do it. Because I'm not going to take the time to learn to do all these extra things in my videos.
Yeah.
Because I already do so much. Like, I spend hours testing and then hours recording and then hours editing. And yeah, I don't think I can go much more.
Yeah, it would be thrilling to have a professional studio and a camera crew. And
yeah,
I mean, honestly, even if someone just washed dishes for me, that would be pretty awesome.
Yeah, I usually get my husband to wash dishes. He's good about it because he gets to eat all the delicious stuff. So
for me, it's worse. I have people creating dishes that then I need to wash before, so that my kitchen is clean so I can film.
Yeah, sometimes that happens. If he doesn't get to the dishes, I do have to do some beforehand, but I usually just try to hide them.
So let's talk about the bakery. First off, what's the name of the bakery?
It is Sugar Swap Bake Shop.
And is it just a walk-in thing, or are you doing shipping as well?
Well, I will hopefully be able to get shipping down soon. It's very tricky to ship keto baked goods, as you know. I mean, unless you're like just the dry cookies, like, high key or, the bars and stuff like that. All that stuff's easy to sell. But like gourmet pastries that have, the butter and the cream and, can melt and stuff like that, it's going to be a challenge. And it probably is going to be pretty expensive to ship a lot of this stuff. So I've got to definitely do a lot of research, figure out the best way, the cheapest way, and all that stuff. So it's going to take time, especially because I just started that. It's basically right now, it's just a walk-in, you take out, there's no seating or anything. And I'm probably going to be doing like an online store so people can pre-order like cakes for birthdays and stuff like that, local people. And then hopefully once I get all that set up, I can start getting the shipping going and figure that all out. Because all my subscribers are like, I'll buy from you. I'll buy from you. I'll be your first customer. And I'm like, okay, I'll get there eventually.
Where are you located geographically?
Well, the biggest city I'm near is Buffalo, New York.
Okay.
It's a suburb of Buffalo in Blaisdell, but it's like basically right next to Lake Erie, like 2 minutes down the road from Lake Erie. So all the way to the west in New York.
So, what is the name of the place? So I used to, when I worked for Cooper Power Systems many years ago, I'd fly into Buffalo and then I would drive to wherever Cutco knives are made. Is that ringing a bell?
I'm not sure where they're made. I know I've had friends that do Cutco, but I never knew where they were from.
Oh, it's near the Pennsylvania border.
Oh, Fredonia, Dunkirk.
I don't know. They're really big on like roast beef on wick.
There. Oh, well, that's everywhere around here.
Oh, okay.
That's a Buffalo thing.
But yeah, I used to fly into Buffalo and then I would drive, to this location. And, if it was in the winter and you're driving along Lake Erie, you go from pleasant to just blizzard in a period of like 5 minutes.
Yep. That's us. The weather's very unpredictable here. It's they say it's the one place you can have every single like weather symbol in one day. Cloudy, rainy, windy, sunny,
drought.
Yep.
So back to the bakery. I mentioned earlier, because I get anytime I am doing, a review of product, including from, startup keto bakeries, I get people that say, oh, that's way too expensive and I could make it cheaper and things like that. Can you walk our viewers through some of what goes into starting up a bakery, some of the costs that you incur just before you've even baked your first brownie?
Yeah, it's pretty crazy because if you think about it, you can get a 50-pound bag of sugar, $30, from the store or from a distributor. I have to buy all my stuff on Amazon, which costs more, obviously. I can't get a bulk item from a distributor. The best deal I get 20 pounds of allulose for $160 on Amazon. And that's what I use in all my ice creams, a lot of my baked goods, all my candy, like my Snickers that everybody loves. It's like I priced all this stuff out and it is more expensive. It's insane how much more expensive it is than regular baked goods. And not to mention the time it takes to get all this.
So coconut flour versus all-purpose flour. What, a factor of 8, a factor of 10?
Yeah, I mean, I get 3 pounds at Walmart for $7, and you get a pound of flour for $1. Like it's crazy.
So, in terms of like you're starting up a physical commercial bakery, I imagine there's also regulations, licensing, things of that nature that goes into it. You need the FDA to come in and probably audit you.
Well, the nice thing that I did, I got an opportunity from somebody who already had an established bakery. And it was gluten-free already, and she did keto baked goods also. So I got lucky that I could kind of bypass a lot of that because she had it already in her bakery. So I came in and I paid her rent. So I'm basically renting space from her so that I can get my business up and running. So we just signed like a 6-month contract. And after those 6 months, I can either decide to stay, or if she wants to leave and do something different, she'll we'll figure out the bakery if she wants to give it over to me and I'll take over rent, or I can find my own place. So it's going to be interesting what happens in these 6 months. And I'm really grateful to her. She's basically said, I'll help you start your business. And that was like the help I needed. Cause like I had some money, but like I had no knowledge. And like I would have had to find my own place and find my own equipment and all that stuff. And this is basically all there for me already. And I bought in some stuff that obviously I want for my recipes, but it has helped me out a great deal getting me started quicker. Like I just started, I think I signed the contract with her at the end of March, and I'm already selling a month and a half later, which is not bad. If I would have had my own place, I would have had a lot more time to have to like get everything set up. That was nice.
So how much overlap will there be between what you're selling at the bakery and what you're making in your videos?
There's going to be a lot of overlap because I'm basically using my time at the bakery as I'm making products for testing also, like stuff that I couldn't do at home because I just didn't have time, like cream cheese brownies. People have asked me to make a cream cheese brownie recipe. I've never made a cream cheese brownie even as like a regular thing. So I'm like, well, I need a brownie for the case, to sell. So let's try out a recipe. And it turned out and it was delicious. And I'm like, well, now I got a recipe I can film. Or like I just did pizzelles. I've been wanting to try it. I got a pizzelle maker back in December and I haven't even gotten it out of the thing yet. But I had some time at the bakery. I pulled it out and I tried up a recipe real quick. And, I figured it out within an hour. And now, so I'll have a video for that. So it's definitely helping.
Will there be bakery exclusives?
What do you mean? Like,
well, maybe there are things that you don't make a video of because you're like, okay, this is way too good to let people know about, or it requires, economies of scale or equipment that our normal consumer isn't going to have.
Well, what I was thinking, if that does happen, I'll come home and do like a small test at home because it's going to be hard to like do like conversions from a bakery to home without trying it at home. So I'll probably I probably won't not give any recipes out because my company is for the people that don't have time. They don't have the time to bake. They want to just stop by and grab. And of course, not all my subscribers are local. Most of them are. I think I've met like 2 or 3 people that have followed me on YouTube that have come into the bakery. So, and they're still buying from me, even though the recipes are out there. So I don't think I'm going to keep anything like secret, from my viewers. Because it's just people that don't want to bake, they're going to order from me. People that want to bake are going to bake either way. If they don't bake this new recipe, they're going to bake one of my old recipes. So, yeah.
So what do you do after you've gone through multiple iterations of a recipe? I think the Oreo recipe, what did you say? You made like 13 batches or something in that video. What do you do with all of those? Do you just freeze them and eat them over time, or give them away? Or
luckily I have a lot of friends and family now because I got married and their family is my family now. So I got more people to give things away to. So I do a lot of giving away. I do have a lot of freezer stuff. The worst are those battle videos where I do like 8 different pancakes or 4 different dessert, 4 different cakes. So like I have cakes that are just like, there's no frosting on them. They're just plain old cakes. So those are all in my freezer still, but I have had to throw out several of my tests that I just can't use at all. But if I can save them, I try, and I'll try to use them in some way or another or give them away. It sucks.
Yeah, there have been times where I wish that I knew a farmer, that had pigs or something that I could just be like, here, I'll trade you some keto stuff that didn't work out for some bacon or something.
Right. That'd be nice. A little trade-off.
What would you say is the biggest keto baking lesson or mistake that you would like to be able to keep people from making?
It's a tough one.
I mean, we had talked about measurements and, measuring in grams, but is there something else that you see is sort of a common pitfall that people can make as they're trying to do keto baking?
I think even I'm guilty of this, is being impatient. Like, and not reading a recipe all the way through before you start making it. Because several people have said, like, with my bread recipe, they just threw everything in. And it's like, no, there's definitely steps that you got to take. And one of the biggest things I'll never forget in high school, the biggest lesson I learned, I had to make sponge candy, I think 3 times, because the first time I didn't read through the recipe and added in the baking soda before like the sugar and stuff was done cooking. And so I had to throw that away. And then the second time, like a fire alarm went off and I couldn't finish my recipe. And then like finally the third time I was able to make it and successfully. But like you got to read through a recipe. You got to like steps, you got to have everything ready, prepared. Like that's one of the things I try to teach in my videos is to be efficient in general. Like when I go to make a recipe, I have everything in my head, the steps I want to take to make it as fast as possible. So while that's going, you do that. And like watching my videos, like I hope people are getting that out of it, because that's one of the biggest things is, yeah, they're difficult recipes, but if you follow the way I do it, it's the most efficient way and you won't spend all day in the kitchen, you know? So that's one of the biggest things is reading through the recipe and figuring out the best way to produce what you're trying to produce. That's what we learn in the restaurant business. It's all about efficiency.
You know? Yeah, and having your mise en place,
Mm-hmm.
obviously a big thing. I think one of the challenges, for those of us who are more experienced in the kitchen, is we want to show these things. We want to show the prep. Like if you're prepped, then here's how efficiently, like you said, the recipe comes together.
Yep.
But so many people seem to be impatient when it comes to that.
Yeah.
I'll get the comment where they'll leave a comment and they'll say recipe starts at 5:28, and put in the timestamp.
Yeah.
I'm just like, fine. Skip the important stuff.
Yeah.
This was the setup. Now, if you're jumping straight to the recipe, you're building a house on a foundation of sand because you don't know why you're doing the things you're doing.
Exactly.
Do you get those comments where people are like,
yeah. They're like, I've gotten several that are like, you're babbling. Like, just get to the recipe. I'm like, well, I want you to avoid the pitfalls I did, with this recipe, like what didn't work, because you'll get the questions. Oh, can I do this?
Yeah.
So I try to answer them ahead of time because you get all these questions. And then that's why I say at the end, recipe link down in the description box below, or even in the beginning, like I have recipe down below, because you can literally skip my entire video if you want. Click the link. I write a whole blog post for you, saying basically what I did in the video, and the recipe's there. If you don't want to watch, you don't have to. You know what I mean? But they do what they want to do and say what they want to say.
We already got their 0.2 of a cent for because they clicked on the video. So go ahead, leave your comment. The people that say too much work, that's another one. Too much work, I can just buy it. I'm like,
well, then go ahead. Like, why are you watching?
Yeah, this isn't a shopping channel. This is a cooking channel. Why are you here?
Yeah, exactly.
So we talked about the big change with the bakery. You've got another big change pending. Do you want to share that with the audience?
Yeah, so this whole bakery thing was going on. Obviously, I signed the contract right around my wedding. And the plan after the wedding was to get pregnant. And I think one of the biggest things was keto. I have been in the best shape of my life and I got pregnant right away. So I've been opening up a bakery while being very, very tired in my first trimester. So it's been crazy. So many life changes at once.
So is this going to change how you eat? Because we've talked about keto as a lifestyle rather than as a diet.
Yeah. I debated, like, I love keto and I love the energy I have. But, sometimes keto, you don't eat the best in nutrients. Like, you don't eat the most veggies you should and stuff like that. So I'm not going, like, crazy with carbs, but I'm not denying myself a sweet potato or a healthy gluten-free whole grain, something like that. and I'm not really tracking or anything. It's more just I want to get nutrients in. And unfortunately, with all the pastries I make and eat, like I don't get a lot of nutrients from them because I'm not using like honey or maple syrup that have like actual nutrients. Like sugar alcohols really have no nutritional value to them besides just a sweetener. So like I'm trying to eat a little bit more thinking nutrient dense than, just doing like a low carb or something like that. I'm just trying to do what I think is best, but I do kind of miss the energy of just straight eating fat and steak and, the veggies, but
So
do what I can.
yeah, energy is a great side effect of keto. Have you noticed any of the others? I love asking my audience this because you hear kinds of all these great things that people realize went away when they went keto. Any others for you?
Besides the energy and just mental focus, I mean, it's crazy. Like I wouldn't have been able to do everything I did these last 2 years if I didn't have the mental focus. And I mean, obviously the weight loss is great, which it wasn't even like you were trying to lose weight. Like it kind of just happened naturally, which is like something kind of crazy. Like you didn't have to count calories. You were just satisfied and you weren't hungry until 4 o'clock in the afternoon, So there's like tons of benefits that it makes it so much more easy to stick with than any other kind of diet in general. But other than that, I mean, I think that's pretty much it. I mean, I just feel better. The stomach aches, like I mentioned earlier, I think I have a sensitivity to gluten that was never diagnosed. I mean, my mom always said, we didn't know anything about that back when you were a kid. I just thought you just were nervous and didn't want to go to school and you had stomach aches every morning. Well, I think it was because of gluten, because now I don't have those anymore and it's great.
Have you found within your baking a decent substitute for gluten? Something that can give that sort of texture and mouthfeel?
I really haven't found like the specific thing. Like I always add xanthan gum to everything. I mean, that definitely helps. But that chew, I'm still trying to like get it without adding like mozzarella. Like my pizza crust recipe, I've been trying for the longest time to get that chew. And I just discovered the cellulose gum when I did my gum paste
Oh,
recipe.
the methyl cellulose?
Yeah, so I've been trying to like figure if I can use that in some recipes to give like a better chew. But there's not a lot of baked goods that you need a chew for besides like breads, which the best bread I have is the low carb, the protein sparing bread that I got. There's a chew to it, but I think it's the psyllium husk with the yeah, it's just pretty much psyllium husk is like the only thing in there that would like give it any kind of chew. But yeah, I haven't figured out anything else really. Like I've been trying gelatin in things and stuff like that, and nothing really seems to give it that chew you need.
So I was in one of my last video podcasts. I talked about how one of my viewers sent me a big batch of keto baked goods from a keto bakery.
I watched that. That's scary.
And like the croissant that I had, I think I ate it. I'm like, this is amazing. I mean, how did they, what kind of voodoo did they use to make this croissant? Just like a real croissant. And I had like an 83-point spike in glucose.
That's crazy. Yeah, I told my bakery partner about it. She's like, that is so dangerous. Like you could kill a diabetic. Like giving them that, like thinking it's sugar free and like skyrocket their blood sugar and like going to comas. It's crazy.
Well, and I had a viewer say this particular bakery in the Houston area, does it start with an M?
Yeah,
And I said yes. And she said, yeah, I went there and I had the same thing. I had a muffin or something, and it just totally, or bagel, and it totally spiked my glucose. And I went back and talked to the owner, and he was totally dismissive. And it's one of those that I kind of wrestled with, like, do I call out this company on my channel? And if I do, is there any sort of legal liability that's on me? Like, I don't want to be sued, so I kind of got to rely on anybody that's local to go and speak to the manager. And but that's a big one, is how many of these keto goods out there aren't truly keto.
Yeah. It's crazy. Like, I feel like, I don't know what Texas is, but here we have to have at least be able to like kind of show what ingredients. Like I put all my stuff into a program called Recipale, and it spits out a label, like a nutrition label, and it tells you got to put in all your ingredients, and it shows you the list of ingredients just like on a nutrition label. And I haven't gotten to it yet, but I should be like printing them all out, getting them laminated so that people, if they ask, I can show them what ingredients are in a baked good and prove, the carbs and all that stuff in there. So I don't know how it is in Texas, but I feel like that should be something that is everywhere, like.
Yeah. I've got a printout. It's sitting, right here on my desk of their various products and the ingredients. And I look at the ingredients list, and let me just grab it for the sake of our mutual audiences. Homemade blueberry bread. This is one. I didn't get this one. Ingredients. Tell me if this sounds right to you as a complete ingredient list. Northern blueberries, egg, almond flour made from raw nuts, hazelnut flour made from raw nuts. That's it. That is like no.
You can't make a baked good out of that.
Yeah.
If you think it tastes good. I mean, it's just.
I see something like that, and I wonder, how do you turn that into bread?
Egg and 2 nut flours.
Yeah, and some blueberries.
Yeah.
That to me sounds like the recipe for something close to a brick.
Yeah, my recipe lists are like that long. Like, I mean, it's crazy. Yeah, no, that doesn't make bread.
So this will probably be my final question, because I see that we've already significantly overshot our 30-minute time, but I knew we would.
Yeah.
What do you feel is sort of the holy grail ingredient, the one thing you wish existed for keto, like that as you think about recipes and you're like, if only there was this in the keto world, how great would that be? Do you have an ingredient like that?
Ingredient.
I mean, of course, we'd love to have flour that behaves like flour,
right,
and sugar that behaves like sugar.
Yeah, the thing is, I've created a lot of things that like make things easy. Like, I wish there was a keto sweetened condensed milk. That way, I didn't have to make it because it's a pain in the butt. Or I make my allulose syrup, basically a corn syrup, something that is used in baking all the time that makes things so easy. You just throw it in and it makes things magical. But I got to make my own.
Yeah.
So things like that, like it'd be great if there was keto versions on the market, like the easy, convenient baking things that, most people take for granted. They evaporated milk, like just things like that. It'd be nice to have to just make recipes easier. But like as soon as I got into the bakery, I made a batch of corn syrup and I made a big batch of sweetened condensed milk because I'm like, I know I'm going to need this. Yeah.
How long do each of those keep? Because I should probably be making some of that too.
I haven't had to keep it around. Like I've only made like a small batch for recipes. So I really don't know. Like I think it was like 1.5 gallons of sweetened condensed milk. I'll keep you updated because it's in my fridge at the bakery if I don't use it fast enough. I feel like, it's just cream, butter, and allulose, and a little bit of vanilla. But you cook it down so much that it becomes like really thick and syrupy. So I feel like, it lasts on the shelves, the regular stuff, lasts on the shelves forever. I feel like it won't, I can probably freeze it too, which I didn't even think about that. It'd probably be a good idea. It'll probably last a while though, I feel like.
Yeah, it'd be interesting, if you've got a chamber vacuum sealer to see what would happen, if you vacuum sealed it in a mason jar with a lid.
Yeah.
You pull out all the air, would that then be shelf stable long term?
Yeah. If you do the proper sanitizing the jars and all that stuff, that'd probably be a good idea. In the future, I could do that. Same thing. The allulose syrup that I make, like the corn syrup, I've had some on my counter for like months. That stuff, it's just literally just allulose and water that you just boil down until it's like real thick, like corn syrup. And that stuff lasts on the counter like for the longest time. So, but the sweetened condensed milk, that'd be a good idea to maybe do some jarring on it or something.
Well, For me, the ingredient that I wish existed, and I've got to do a review. I just bought like 3 different brands, is a keto honey.
Yeah, I've seen that they've been coming out with them.
More so for things like sauces and stuff like that. Barbecue sauce.
Yeah, honey mustard and yeah.
Like there's a Bobby Flay recipe that I love for ribeyes where you top it with goat cheese and Meyer lemon and honey mustard, or you make the honey mustard. It's whole grain mustard and Dijon and lemon juice and the some finely grated rind from the Meyer lemon. And if I didn't say honey already, honey. And it's amazing with the goat cheese. But
goat cheese and honey is delicious.
So, maybe if I can at some point find a decent honey flavoring or extract, I can just add that to your allulose syrup and I'm good to go. But still,
this stuff is as thick as honey. That's for sure.
Well, and I think that for making like a barbecue sauce, it would still probably work.
Yeah.
And if you're cooking low and slow, you're safe with the allulose. Just you get into danger territory, once that gets anywhere close to 300.
Yeah. Yeah, you actually have to take it up. Like I did the praline. You literally have to take the allulose up so far to almost burn before it actually becomes hard. Like it's crazy that you have to like take it so far to even get it to like stay hard at room temperature. You still have to keep it in the fridge because it will melt in hot weather. It's crazy.
Well, and we're getting all food geeky here at the end, but there is such a small margin between once you get it allulose to hard or even caramelized to once it burns and goes bitter.
Yeah, it's crazy. Like even the praline is a tiny bit bitter, but you have to take it that far to like get it there, It's crazy. One of the biggest things that I've been trying to work on, that's like my favorite thing, it's also a buffalo thing, is sponge candy. And because allulose is the only thing that caramelizes.
Okay.
But it doesn't get
similar
hard.
To honeycomb?
Yeah, it is.
Okay.
So you do like a sugar syrup and you add baking soda and it puffs up and you put it in a pan and it's supposed to harden. Well, allulose doesn't harden. So it's just like, what do you do? Like, it's so annoying.
Yeah, I tried it once with allulose as well, and it looked great initially going into the pan, and then it sort of started to sink down.
And just got like stretchy.
Yep, you bite into it and you're like, okay, this is like fusing my teeth together. It's not the light.
Because like it's such a buffalo thing, and like orange sponge candy at like Christmas or Easter is like there. It's always right there, and like I want it so bad. And I can't.
Well, the great thing, and I think this is like the best time ever in history to be keto because we have so many talented people working on recipes and I think also starting to collaborate as well. One of the things I'd like to do, and I'd love to have you be part of it, is eventually, after I do a few more of these interviews, have like a round table where there's 4 or 6 of us all in our own windows, and as each of us talk, they'll pop to the front and discuss sort of the state of keto cooking, things of that nature. But I digress. I think we're at a point now where we're all, whether we're actively cooperating and collaborating or just inspiring one another with ideas, we're coming up with stuff that would have thought impossible a couple of years ago for keto.
Yeah, it's pretty crazy. It's awesome to see, and like it just makes it all the more sustainable. That's all I see. Like, people say, oh, desserts, it's a gateway and all that stuff. It's like, but if you're someone like me that needs it no matter what, like I don't care. If I go without desserts for 6 months, I'll still want a dessert. Like I don't care. That's who I am. So it's like you got to have something. You can't just not, and then you're not going to stick to it. So it's always good to have the new things come out.
Well, I think you've got a lot of people that are very grateful for the safety net that you've created for them, with these desserts. So I want to thank you for being on. And I also, one last time, the name of your bakery is?
Sugar Swap Bake Shop.
And is there a website yet for it?
Not yet, but it will be. Like I have the domain name, so it will be sugarswapbakeshop.com. But yeah, keep your eyes open on social media. I'm on Facebook and Instagram with that handle. So just keep checking back. I'll definitely announce, obviously, when I have shipping available. It'll be a big day when I finally figure that all out. So
and I will link to Alycia's channel, Keto Upgrade, down below in the description. If you haven't checked it out, I encourage you to do so. A lot of fun recipes, especially if you're into desserts. Go there, check it out. It's awesome. And thank you, Alycia.
Thank you for having me. It was fun.
All right.